now tuned in to the Radio Pathways, hosted by
Thank you, Joshua. It's an honor and a
Joshua Saul. Unlocking human potential.
How we approach our leadership and how we approach others when we're insecure about our leadership can make a tremendous difference in feeling confident and portraying that confidence. My name is Joshua Sal and I am a speaker member to an international organization, Toastmasters International. Welcome to Client and Coach Conversations on Radio Pathways. I'm really excited today to chat with Leon Malan. Leon is a man that has paid his school fees in the benefits of both leadership and management. He was thrown into leadership positions at the young age of 18 as an instructor in the SA Navy. Since leaving the Navy some 40 years ago, he has found himself in leadership positions and in many roles. Some thrust upon him, and some came naturally. He understands people and the different ways in which people operate. He utilizes his knowledge to effectively lead people to a common goal. Ladies and gentlemen, the conversation. Mr. Malan, it is a great honor to have you today on this podcast, Radio Pathways. Welcome.
Thank you, Joshua. It's an honor and a privilege to be here.
I must say that after a very long time, it is good to see you, and under any circumstance, there's nothing more that I could have wished for but to really sit down and have this conversation with you. Today, I want to talk to you about your perspective on leadership, how to lead so that you inspire, and how to motivate your team as a leader. Today, tables are being turned, changes are happening in this country on this earth. We are living in challenging yet interesting times. And for us to get through these times, we need a strong leader who's clear on their words when communicating. Now, before we can proceed, I would like to read a quote. It is by Joel Osteen. He said that when you face difficult times, know that challenges are not sent to destroy, but they are sent to promote, to increase, and to strengthen you as a leader and as an individual. Mr. Malan, do you ever come across difficult times? Please define difficult times for us.
Joshua, these can be described amongst others as, for example, taking strain, financial strain. We all know that in a relationship, financial strain leads to tension in a relationship, which leads to stress, which leads to many other things. But difficulty also presents when things are not going right in a project or at work or with one's business endeavors. Example, staff problems, logistical problems, customer relations, any number of things. An entrepreneur faces many, if not all, of these problems. The secret to overcoming them and moving forward lies in leadership. One of the key elements of good leadership is discipline, self-discipline. Not easy when things are tough, but without it, a true leader can lose direction, and with that, a certain downfall is not far behind.
Now let's talk about feedback in difficult times. And more than anybody that I know, you are very good at listening and you always deliver this constructive feedback that truly inspires and that is always captivating. Please talk to us. Is receiving feedback equally important to every leader?
Joshua, feedback is critical for a leader. Without it, you have no gauge on a scenario. You have no idea what progress or lack of progress has been made and why. You do not have a grasp of a situation and you end up being unable to lead because you have lost direction, and without direction, you do not need a leader.
And also, how do we position ourselves so that we are open to receiving feedback?
I do not believe one should position oneself for feedback, but rather be open to receive feedback from all sources and to take whatever steps necessary to apply corrective action if needed, in whatever form needed.
How has receiving feedback impacted you personally as a leader?
It's definitely strengthened me. It's given me direction. I've taken what I've received, applied it, and improved my overall situation, looking forward, all the way.
Certainly, feedback is one tool that will always equip us to become the better versions of ourselves. Now, there's this idea that I love so much, and it promotes this, that as a leader, and sometimes all you have to do is to listen. When Mandela spoke about this, he spoke about his father who was a chief in one of the villages in the Eastern Cape. He said that his father, and in most cases, his father would listen before he could speak. His father would allow everybody to raise their ideas. Only then he would add and formulate an action plan. It is without a doubt that listening will greatly influence your decision making as a leader. Mr. Malan, you have this unique open approach that always inspires me as an individual. Your leadership, you are able to speak so that people listen, to follow, and then implement based on the advices that you share each time you are on stage. And I'm only curious, how do you position yourself as a master in leadership?
Josh, thank you for the compliment. But I do not see myself as a master in leadership. Rather, I see myself experienced, yet still learning. And believe me, I still make mistakes. Sometimes even the same mistakes as from my past. However, when making a mistake, I learn from it, apply corrective measures, and move on. Know always that you as a leader are an example, and lead by example. Be the person that you are required to be at that particular point in time and space. It is a good idea to know what leadership styles there are, and there are many, and many combinations of leadership styles. Utilize that style that suits the occasion or the situation.
And for somebody who is in a leadership position already, who's maybe anxious and always confused because of difficult employees, if they have to deal with crucial yet demotivated employees that are not willing to take up on any responsibility with their actions, what advice can you share from a leadership perspective in dealing with difficult employees?
When you've exhausted all avenues of understanding and motivation on a person, and the result is still unacceptable, then you have to consider, is this the correct or the right person to engage with? Is the effort I am putting in worth it? Is there going to be a change in this person? If the answer to the above is no, then move on. Leave them behind. You are more important to yourself and to others than to let an uncooperative and unwilling person hold you back. Do not create permanent relationships with temporary people. If the answer is yes, relook your approach. Reassess the scenarios. 1. Is the person capable? 2. Have they been equipped? 3. Have you communicated the message correctly and received confirmation of comprehension? The greatest myth about communication is the illusion that comprehension has occurred.
And in a workplace, if you have somebody in your team who's very denial, they always appear to be ignorant, and each time you attempt to assist them, they then resist and push you away. Mr. Malan, as a leader and in your own perspective and to other leaders, what is that one thing that leaders should be mindful of that will help them not to lose hope in their employees?
Change your perspective. That's to say, look at the scenario from a different perspective or point of view. Rather engage with the person and try to discover what it is that motivates them, what inspires them, and then adjust your leadership style to the situation.
Now, let's look at the insecure pieces which we all have within ourselves. And as leaders, when we lead out of our own fears and out of our own insecurities, it is always difficult to focus our intentions on the main objectives. Now talk to us a little bit. How do we deal with our own insecurities so that we are able to become more impactful leaders?
That is always a question that everybody has to deal with. But remember, no matter your insecurities, make a decision and stick with it, always. Walk into a room as if you own the place. That will always give you that little bit of extra confidence when needed. Meaning, if you at least appear confident, you will be more impactful.
And of course, appearing more confident in a room tends to be a more intimidating. That way you are able to take control over any situation that you might be facing at that time. Mr. Malan, you and your wife, you are doing a great job with new speakers in Toastmasters International and outside of Toastmasters International. You have groomed speakers into this public speaking world. You run a youth leadership program. You and your wife, Andrea, you all have mentored me into this world of public speaking. You teach by sharing visions, and you have this unique way of bringing words into reality. And to me specifically, please teach me, how can I become better as a leader so that I am able to impact others just like you do?
I do not actually attempt to inspire others. Rather, I only pass on advice gained from experience, hoping that the recipient will heed the advice. Advice is free. You can take it or leave it. I believe, however, that my actions and results are the inspiration.
And what's your biggest ambition and how do you keep that alive?
My greatest ambition is to live life to its absolute fullest in every sense, including the biblical sense of John 10, verse 10.
We just spoke about Toastmasters International. And for somebody who's maybe listening and then they're wondering, they've never heard that name, Toastmasters International, please talk to us. What is Toastmasters International?
TMI, Toastmasters International. This is probably the safest place in the world where you can learn the art of understanding yourself, your communication styles, your leadership styles. Here you can learn how to master the skills you need to be a competent leader and a competent communicator.
And also, you are making a difference. You are running this amazing initiative. With the difference that you are currently making in the speaking world, please tell us more about your initiative.
I do not believe that currently I'm making such a difference. However, through our leadership communication program that we run at a private school, there are so far roughly 100 children who have had a serious impact in their lives by learning to communicate effectively as young leaders.
And of course, as a leader, and this goes to everybody who's in a workplace. If you are a parent, you have so many responsibilities that you always have to deal with. Mr. Malan, please describe to us what is self-care and what is self-love. How important is it to apply self-care, self-love as a leader?
I've heard of this thing, but I know it from a different perspective. Always give yourself room to maneuver. Always give yourself space and time to breathe, to look inwards, or to simply take snapshot moments in life to gather your thoughts and to regroup. Keep yourself sane.
And what is a servant leader? Please define that for us.
Most volunteer leaders are servant leaders, whether or not they see themselves as such. When you give of yourself for others selflessly, you become a servant leader. This is probably the most rewarding thing you can do for yourself in terms of self-care and self-love.
I can imagine at times we all have to take a time out to really serve our communities, to really make an impact, make a difference, at least inspire somebody in our circle. Mr. Malan, how do you as a leader gain momentum and how do you maintain that momentum?
I believe that momentum is organic. It occurs when all the plans start coming together. When you have empowered and equipped your team correctly, when they comprehend your strategy and goals, and they mesh to become one as a team. Build a team so powerful that nobody knows who the leader is.
And if you were given an opportunity, if you were given the resources to really create your own leader, what type of a leader would that leader be?
That leader would look something like a hydra, with many leadership styles and skills, with patience, forbearance, and tolerance. An excellent communicator, a strategic thinker, and most importantly, a decisive decision maker.
And what is leader emergence?
A good leader will always see the leadership potential of members in his team, and he will use those strengths to his advantage, as well as mentoring the protege to greater heights.
I've stated at the beginning that things are being changed in this world today. Businesses are facing serious threats of closing down, and people are getting retrenched already. Now, Mr. Malan, if you were afforded the opportunity to learn a new skill today, what would that skill be?
I'd love to learn how to forge and work with metal, to be a blacksmith and a carpenter. I'd love to be able to work with my hands. I've never been adept or good at it. I've always been clumsy, and I'm actually useless with my hands, to be honest. So I'd love to do that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Malan, for availing yourself to have this conversation with me. Of course, it is an impact that you have truly made today. It is your advices that we will be able to go back to as youth to really listen to the words of wisdom that you have shared today, and from there we can apply those advices so that we become better as human beings. I thank you very much for availing yourself to chat with me today.
Thank you. No, I thank you, Josh. I really thank you for the opportunity to give and to part with some of my knowledge and some of my experience to your viewers and your listeners and to yourself. Thank you very much.